Now I'd like to introduce, as you've all been seated, to Piero Fraternali. He is a professor at Politecnico di Milano, and he is from the Department of Electronics and Information.
Thank you. Can I use the remove the microphone?
Yeah.
Without damaging it?
Oh, anything else here? Okay. Hello.
Perfect. Thank you, first of all, to the organizers for inviting me. My name is Piero Fraternali, and I'm on the academic side of the conference. I'm one of those scientists that have been mentioned, and I do promise that I will be listening more than speaking. So I will introduce the conference with a point of view of an IT person, but I'm also really very interested in listening, bringing home new intuition and insights in problems where we scientists, academicians, but I'm also kind of an entrepreneur because I spun off a company 12 years ago with my students, can apply IT techniques, original IT techniques, to natural resource management problems and water specifically. I will bring you quite a fresh view. It will be not only about data, it will be also about people. The thing I'm talking about is human computation. That seems an oxymoron, but it's something that it is taking place. It's a long known concept. Humans have been used to supplement machines since the inception of computer science, but it has never happened at the scale in which it is happening now. And I will give you a few examples why this is relevant and can be brought to bear to the resolution of water and more general natural resource problems. So we'll start with giving a definition of what we IT people call human computation or social computation sometimes. I will trace the discipline back to the origins, and then I will give you examples, because that is in some sense very much related to the application that the President has just shown us on the dunes area, where people are, well, voluntarily contributing data and knowledge about the problem of our interest. Is assuming there are several forms. One is crowdsourcing, games, and you will see. And I will also try to connect the general shape that human computation can assume to the specific area of natural resource management and water management. And then I will give you a word of caution. I don't think that this, which seems a promising direction to investigate, is the magic one. There are problems. Humans are fallible. They can introduce more humor than sensors in your data, and they can spoil your knowledge if you don't practice well. And then if there will be time, I would also like to spend a couple of words on the projects that my group is actually undertaking in these days, and conclude with what I think it would be interesting for a person like me as an investigation for the next years. And obviously you will be able to do the same for your own interests. So, what is human computation? It's easily defined. I give you the classical definition from the person Louis van Haan of Carnegie Mellon University, who is the first one to have used the term under the modern interpretation. And that is the combination of humans and computers to solve large-scale, that's the important, let's say, definition, that neither can solve alone. A more elaborate definition, as everything else is now found in Wikipedia, that qualifies human computation as a human-based computation architecture or computer science technique in which some process, like the water process, for example, performs its functionality by outsourcing some steps, some tasks to the humans. Why is that useful? Because humans and machines have different capacities and costs. Not only capacities are relevant here, but also costs in producing information, for example, or in making sense out of data. That is a very costly operation if you delegate it totally to machines. The goal, the ultimate dream, would be to have a symbiotic human-computer interaction where humans are not only users, but they are really part of the computation. Let's see if this can be done and if it is relevant to water research and practice. Most of you know and have used human computation in your daily life. CAPTCHA, that is the acronym invented by Louis von Hahn, the pioneer in the field, stands for Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and human apart. Turing test is that well-known, famous IT test that should be able to emit a task and understand whether the task has been solved by a human or a machine. Well, this is an example of one such task. When you log into a new service, sometimes you get puzzled by one of these tests. And, well, they are sometimes annoying. They're difficult to solve for a human user as well. But they are there to tell you something, to ask you do something that a machine cannot do with current technology. This is a very illustrative example. The task is visual object recognition. Oh, that's normal. We have a deadline just 3 days from now, so it will be ringing all the time. And it's visual content detection that is a capacity that humans have elaborated in millions of years of evolution, and animals in general, that machines are not good at. And so they distort images in ways that really can cheat any algorithm of optical character detection. So this is a task, it is an example of a task at which humans are still much better than machines. But human computation assumes a variety of forms, not only, let's say, visual content, classification or object recognition. So let's go through some of the archetypal forms of human computation that are already a commercial reality. We have been working in a project with the competitor of Amazon, that is a Finnish company called Microtask. They do a lot of money with this. So, crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is a very buzzword. It's probably the buzzword in human computation these days. But it's a very simple concept. It's the way of distributing a work by means of computer to a large mass of workers, paid workers normally, that you probably do not know at the end. An open-ended community of contributors that are submitted tasks to be resolved by a computer-based platform. So the computer splits a process into tasks, small units of work, and manages the assignment of those tasks to a large audience of candidate workers, collects the output, aggregates it, and gives it back to the provider for evaluation. This is something that is already there. It exists. Amazon Mechanical Turk has a very interesting demographics, millions of users, and now we are verging to the 10 million of tasks closed per month, which is, well, a good number. This is the interface that you see when you go to Amazon Mechanical Turk. It's a very simple web or mobile application. Those are tasks. A task has a name and a submitter, that is normally a company or also an individual, a scientist. People in linguistic studies have a conference now about crowdsourcing. They are very excited. Never before in the history of linguistics they would be able to make mass-scale studies about linguistic issues as they are now, thanks to these kind of tools. So they are very excited. In the humanities, this is impacting very much. Tasks have instances, so that task has 14,000 instances to be solved, and they have a price, a very low price normally. Human intelligent tasks, as the Amazon calls them, are posted in the number of thousands, and they are picked up by people for resolution at the price that you see there. So there are, in my modest opinion, legal issues, ethical issues, work that are totally to be investigated. The School of Laws and the School of Social Science have a stake here, but it's there, it's out there, it's legal, and you can do, let's say, intensive work using these, scientific or office work using these tools. And the point is that it's not only office automation. People are really doing the wide array of different things with crowdsourcing. This is a long tail example. I mean, how many experts of North Africa Arabic dialect would you be able to recruit in your company? Well, not very many and at a very high cost. And this is an example of a task that asks people to classify sentences in Arabic according to the dialect they were formulated with. So also long tails, very difficult to resolve with local, let's say, recruiting process tasks are, let's say, amenable to be addressed via crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is a reality. There are companies, more than one, some of them very successful, some other, let's say, niche, and let's say more focused on a single topic, but it's commercial reality. There is another reality that is less commercial, and it is probably less well known, that is the reality of games with a purpose, so serious games. Oh, this is also something that demonstrates that this is the right time. In 2010, Nielsen Media Report reported that gaming became the second most intensely used application of the web after social networks, first surpassing email. You know, only in the US, people spend 200 billion hours per year gaming online, which is a sheer amount of time. So the idea is, if we could inject some useful task into a gaming experience that can attract people, that would be a breakthrough. And that has been done. I mean, some of these pictures are examples of games that people are currently playing because they like playing games, but there is a collateral effect, are producing knowledge out of data, for example. I will show you a few examples. We are building such games. It's very funny because we are doing that with students of the computer games team of Politecnico that are game lovers, so they find it very exciting, but at the same time we are producing annotations for images. And I will tell you an example in the water domain. So the trick is to embed a task that people would do consciously or unconsciously to address a problem that you need to solve. There are several ways. Games with a purpose date back to the 2000, more or less, pioneering work by Louis Van Aan and Laura Davish of Carnegie Mellon. There are already several ways of doing that. Output agreement, input agreement, and the inversion problems are the three typical categories of games that you find out there. Output agreement, that's the simplest. We need to agree on the output that we emit to the game. The machine, the computer, gives you, to the players, the same image, for example. And you are requested to tag it, to describe it with words. And the gamers win when they emit the same word. And so they keep, let's say, placing tags to the image until they coincide on the same tag. That's let's say a funny experience. I would never game, by the way, play a game like that. But Google bought the extrasensorial perception game from Carnegie Mellon, and it became Google Image Labeler, and they labeled 50,000 images with this thing. And there are already now many variants for avoiding cheating, so people that get together and concur on very simple words. So there are many variants of this very elementary paradigm that have been deployed and have harnessed people to transform opaque knowledge, images, into something that is more amenable to processing, image plus metadata. This is surprising because it's really simple to build a game like this. However, there are other situations in which it's difficult to use a single word to qualify a piece of content, and this is the area where input agreement is more relevant. It's another class of games, again, very elementary. The players are given the same piece of content. For example, this is used very much in audio content tagging, audio content metadata extraction. So two songs. And they start describing. One describes what is listening to with sentences, and they have to guess whether they are listening to the same song. And they win if they are able to tell the truth, that is, we are listening to the same song or not. But while doing so, they are just producing metadata, annotating the piece of music or audio that they are listening to. We have a colleague in Japan that is extremely smart at doing things with audio content. He is the inventor of several games, for example, crowdsourced lyrics transcription or speech-to-text transcription, which is very costly, especially, let's say, in non-mainstream languages. And he has a game for people to go there and automatically transcribe the lyrics of songs, or also the partition, the musical pentagram, rhythm and notes. It's beautiful. And people, they have 10,000 players in their platform. Well, karaoke in Japan is a tradition, and they are harnessing, let's say, local passion for doing useful stuff. Masataka Goto, the name of the person. The inversion problem, this is the game paradigm we are building now. It's slightly different. This is not a symmetric game. Not all the players have the same role. Here, it is an asymmetric game. There is a master of the game and some players. It can also be deployed in a multiplayer fashion. The master gets from the machine a piece of content, let's say an image. And it slowly and progressively describes that to the players, and the player need to guess what it is about. This seems stupid, but it is not. Look at this. This is what we are doing now. We have a problem. We have been contacted by some association in the fashion industry. In Italy, that's quite, let's say, popular. Because they want to use social data to predict trends. What will be the color that it will be a hit next year? Well, you can go out there and fetch a lot of pictures from Flickr, from Facebook, from Pinterest, you know, the social network of designers, places where people really spot trends. But the problem is that it's very hard to extract texture and color pattern from a general purpose picture, because people make photos not only of garments, but of, well, everyday life scenes. And so you probably would extract also the color of the brown door that is shown in the background. So the problem is how you detect objects. I tell you, automatic garment recognition is still not there. I mean, you cannot use machines to understand the contour of a general garment in a picture. There is body detection, works, face detection, works very well, body parts detection, so and so. Garment detection doesn't work. The game is very nice. I played that. You can play the sketcher, or you can play, it's based on a very well-known game paradigm, that is puzzle games, draw and guess, Pictionary, something that we used to do it on our tables, right? So it has quite a complicated web architecture, by the way. It's real-time online, HTML5, WebSockets enable, all the buzzwords, the technical things that you can imagine. But the point is, the machine gives you, the master, a picture, you draw the contour, and people enroll to the game, and they need to spot what the contours look like. This is quite sophisticated. There are other incarnations of the same game with very interesting precision data. I mean, they are able to spot the bounding box of objects with very accurate precision, 95% precision and up, which is something that machines at this stage are not able to do. This is my favorite. Probably you already know it. It's a class of games that has a huge promise, huge. It is state space exploration, combinatorial problems. Some of them are massively combinatorial. They are well known. We could solve them if we had enough computation power, but we do not have, and we will not have computation power enough in the future, because the space of the solution is immense. And protein folding is the perfect example. Proteins are obviously the building blocks of drugs and diseases. And they are the subject of an immense effort in drug design right now, cancer marker detection and things like that. I mean, I don't need to talk about this in front of probably people with a degree in chemistry. But the point is that synthesizing new drugs requires understanding stable states of proteins, and these stable states need to be assembled from a bidimensional model that is emitted by a model that tells you the composition of the protein, but then the protein tend to fall in three-dimensional structure in the form of a ball that are so numerous that they cannot be enumerated by a machine, And not all, but only a few, a tiny fraction are energetically stable. And so there is no way you can pass automatically from, you can draw with PMOL one of these pictures, but you don't know if it is stable. There is no way you can pass automatically from a bidimensional model to a stable state 3D that works. Well, people of University of Washington designed a folded game. It is a kind of Tetris. I tried to play it. It's not so easy. I mean, you need to understand some rules, and then you're given a PMO, let's say 3D drawing of a molecule that is not predicted to be stable, and you can operate on it, folding. You have a few operators that you can apply until you fold it, and at every configuration you can evaluate with other operators whether that is likely to be stable or not. Well, people are doing a magnificent job. This is the cover of Times, and 200,000 people spotted a stable configuration of a Mason Thieser enzyme that is working as a retroviral, let's say, drug for HIV. And the scientists, now they did not understand how they managed to do that. I mean, the nice thing is that this is really cooperative work. You can leave a protein unfinished, and other people can come to the rescue and help you. So there is something about the human capacity of collaboration that is much more than the intuition that we have that, okay, some configuration. But the scientists that have revised the trace that people have produced for building the stable state are still there puzzling because they would like to reproduce it automatically. No way. They can understand how they did it. So, and they said in the paper, the scientists say that there are many more results on the verge of being published that will astonish the world. So, drug design by gaming is something that I like very much. Another, I don't know if you are familiar with this example, which is terrific, and it has very much to do with covering large territories. Let's say getting data in real time from a vastitude of territory that we cannot control, neither with, let's say, sensing nor with remote sensing. This is the now famous for us DARPA Red Balloon Challenge. DARPA, the Defense Agency for Advanced Projects in the US, in 2010 launched a challenge to celebrate this, I think, the anniversary of the agency itself. And the challenge was like that. They would, in one date and a given hour, release from 10 unknown secret positions in the territory of the US 10 red weather balloons. And they put on the table $40,000 as a prize for anybody who could spot that within the time that a balloon takes before it gets invisible. Well, Alex Pentland at MIT did that in 9 hours. No remote sensing, no computer network was predicted to be able to do the same. 9 hours. How did the team manage to win? Well, it was not the only one. A couple of teams completed the task. But only one actually spotted all the 10 balloons. That is Alex Pentland, MIT lab. By recursion and by recurring over human relations. So they just invented a reward propagation mechanism whereby, okay, if I spot the balloon, I get part of the prize. But if I recruit you and you spot the balloon, I get a fraction of your price. And if I recruit you and you recruit her and she spots a balloon, it's a Nash equilibrium, by the way. The paper concludes with a very nice demonstration that this is game theoretically sound and convergent. But at the end of the day, people were pressed and urged and pushed to recruit smart people in other places in the US, and that was the winning strategy. Very simple, but leveraging something that is typically human. Our capacity of establishing links, social links, and understanding the value of person. Okay, you will run and watch out and try to spot a balloon. That's a very interesting example that I bring to your attention because we need to monitor our territories and we don't have, at least in Italy, the money to do it, let's say, in a purely institutional way. So just to recap a little bit and why this could be interesting for you. I think that irrespective of the form, we can use this kind of approach to collect data at low cost and maybe to have people validate those data. to extract knowledge from data, to extract information from data and knowledge from information, which is an enormous problem that is totally, let's say, unaddressed nowadays by purely automatic algorithm. But there are other two sides of the, let's say, discipline that need not be overlooked, in my opinion. When you involve people, you involve people. And so you can have a more participative planning and management of resources, which is a different dimension. So it's not people helping you, you are in some sense really introducing people in the decision-making process. And if you do that, maybe you can also change people behavior. I mean, I will not harass you with a long history of educational games. Some of you will be more expert than me. But if you engage people in building a solution, you can also not impose, but just transfer knowledge and change behavior in the most natural possible way. You can do that. You can use human computation in two broad ways. I call them passive and active. Passive is you don't go and recruit. People are already online. They do their daily things with social network or the like, and you harness, you exploit their digital trails. I will show you examples of that. Or in an active way, you really go and ask people to do something. The DARPA Red Balloon Challenge or Gaming with the Purpose. It's like that. Ultimately, what we can achieve really, I think, is better data for predictive models and planning and management tools. I'm not familiar with all the problems of water management. I've been working with water companies in the past two years, and I know how they are desperate for data. I mean, the water company of a province of Italy that is managing a territory that has 1,000 meters of difference of level in the same water district, which is something, with few data about water consumption, could spare the municipality millions euros in pipe maintenance due to better distribution of pressure in the pipes. Just having a better vision with a campaign, a very costly campaign that they did with more methods, of peak distribution in high and low places in the city, they cut a municipality project that would require redoing a pipe circuit from scratch that would cost the municipality more than 19 million euros. They said, stop, this is not necessary, we do this, a small circle there, and things, pressures, will be okay, and you will not need to redo the pipe works. And also take better decision. Again, if you let people participate to data collection, maybe you will get to more participative alternative choices among different possible options of common goods usage, less conflict, and maybe you will be able to promote social change. Water fingerprint is something that has been already proposed as a tool. Energy fingerprint, well, it's CO2 fingerprint are very common and popular, and they've been demonstrated to work. If people can compare themselves with a baseline, they normally tend, we can do the same with water. You can do actually the same with water. These are a few examples that I fetched from the common practice. This is an early ancestor of the application that the President has shown us in the territory here of Amsterdam. CreekWatch was launched by IBM Almaden Research Center in 2005, I think, for the Water Management Agency of California. It's as simple as the application that we've seen here. People download it on their mobile, and while they are outdoor or they are doing a stroll, they just take a photo. The subject here is waste pollution that can corrupt the quality of water that is taken from waterways. And so they can just post a photo and then input very few parameters, flow level, presence of garbage, I mean, something that is really elementary that you can do in a few clicks. The point is that they recruited 4,000 in 1 year, 4,000 citizens for doing that, and now the municipality of San Jose is taking this data seriously into account. And they are using it, for example, to optimize the scheduling of their missions for, let's say, pollution cleanup. I mean, it's simple, it's there, you can download it. I mean, it's been used now in 25 countries. It's really elementary, and it saves public money a lot. This is a little bit more sophisticated. It's a mix of academic and real life activity. The problem is the impact of population of highly densely populated regions. The deployment is in Lombardy. We are one of the most densely populated regions in Europe. There is Milan, obviously, but all the, let's say, metropolitan area is immensely populated, and we have seaside, lakes, and ski resorts. And there are huge shifts of population in the order of millions of people moving all together at the same time to go to the same places. For example, to go skiing in the, let's say, mountain valley. So the consumption of the territory of water, or the production of, is something that you can but tackle in a dynamic way. But the agency has no data, because residential information has census every 10 years. Residential information every year. So they have not the necessary time resolution for acting. They tried with Vodafone to purchase mobile phone traces. Incomplete, very costly. They could not afford. So now they are building up a system that will be an heterogeneous data source integrator that will be able to trace population shifts, possibly in real time, taking whatever they can use. Waste. At the scale of the month, every municipality declares to the region the amount of undifferentiated waste that has been produced. That's an indication of how many people visited the place. And now they have graphs with, let's say, a monthly resolution that shows the huge shift in August. For example, Milan, 0. Bellagio, wow, a number of people that is 10 times the residential population. This is the academic part. If you go to the address there, you can see Twitter data with geotags that are publicly available. We just grabbed, let's say, a snapshot of Twitter data during the opening ceremony of the Olympics, and you see in real time how the tweets, there is a heat map, and you see people going from their houses to the venue, and then when the ceremony ends, taking the tube and going back home. So you can use Twitter to monitor in real time where people are going. Obviously, we need to qualify this statistically to correlate the number of tweets to the number of heads. I mean, there are many problems, but we are suggesting to the region Lombardy to do the same, to mix garbage collection data and Twitter data in order to better predict. We aim at the scale of the hour, the shift of population for waste management, water management, and traffic control. It seems promising, but still full of open problems. This is beautiful. It's a dab paper this year. It's a case of passive social data mining. I like it very much, and we are doing, let's say, we are reproducing this experiment in the Alps. The problem, predicting the incidence of natural phenomenon in a vast territory by using public, normal user-generated content. And these guys from Indiana University had the idea, which seems really weird, but the results are not so weird, to use photos where people take a picture of snow and label the photo with the word snow as an indicator of snow coverage. To understand whether it has a snow actually in the geographical bucket. This is a bucket, one of these pixels is a geographical perimeter, where people have posted photos tagged with the word snow. And the result is quite impressive, really. The paper is very rich in the comparison of different classification techniques. And it's they don't even elaborate the images. They only look at tags and geotags. This is the satellite map. The gray area is where the satellite failed because of clouds. I mean, remote sensing is nice, but sometimes it doesn't work. This is their map. The green areas are true positive. And the message is, with 7 photos, you have 100% precision. If 7 guys post a photo on Flickr with the tag snow in a given place, you can be sure that there has been some snow there, which is interesting. I mean, I did not expect that. And it's low cost, I mean. It's almost zero cost. Ideascale management is instead the problem of making people decide. this is very well known. I will not, let's say, insist very much on this. It's already commercially deployed. The presidential elections have used intensely the Ideascale software. That is, we use it, for example, for deliberation in our company. And then there are more sophisticated public debate tools that help organizing ideas and people decision-making processes. A last word of caution. Don't take this as the magic one. There are a number of reasons why this can work much worse than normal, let's say, IT architectures. The point is that humans are like machines. They can make errors. And they can make errors in two different ways. One is without knowing. Fatigue. If you give me 1,000 of business addresses to check, probably I will be very much attentive the first couple of hours, and then fatigue will ruin the quality of my work. But then I discovered, and that's why I think a social scientist or a behavioral psychologist is much needed, or a behavioral economist. If you go to Wikipedia and you type in cognitive bias, you find an array of ways in which the human brain can be mistaken in decision making. I have only a few minutes, but there is one example I can refrain to tell you. An experiment in a US campus. 2 pictures of handsome boys or girls. An interview, who would you date tonight? And they were both handsome, they got 50% of votes, both. Then they took one of the pictures, they used Photoshop, they distorted it a little, and they made the same interview with 3 pictures. And the percentage dramatically dropped to 28. That's cognitive bias. That's the problem of the wrong, let's say, option. And there are kind of 100 factors that influence that. So don't think that if you ask something to the humans and you are not good at making the interface of the task, that you will not get biased data. You will get bias into your system. And then there is the nice fact that humans can also make errors on purpose. Cheating and spamming is a huge problem. So I don't have the time to go through. There are many works that deal with how you detect malicious user behavior in crowdsourcing markets. We are working at that, so I will be walking around here for a couple of days, so if you want more details. So we are building a system for general purpose human computation tasks. You design your task with a nice interface, you deploy it on the social network of choice. Twitter, Facebook, Doodle, whatever, speaking the language of that social network. So that's a general purpose, a kind of operating system for human computation work. Another thing that we are doing with UDEF, by the way, so that's really joint work with them. We are instead building up a platform for doing something interesting that is not like games with a purpose, replacing algorithms, but helping algorithms working better. This is matching logo images in videos to find, for example, hidden advertising. The point is that the algorithm that is here at the center is very sensitive to the quality of the image that you use as an example to match into the videos. So what we did is a system where you can type Coca-Cola, you go to Google or to another search engine and you fetch as many logos of the brand as you can. If you feed those into the system, you get some good results and a lot of garbage. We pre-filter that with the crowd and we ask people to give us good Coca-Cola logo, and that improves a lot the capacity of the algorithm, that is SIFT, a well-known algorithm, to detect logo instances in the video. The interesting thing is that normally you get this. The experiment without the crowd, so and so. The crowd helps a little bit, precision and recall, and then we do the same with people very much expert on that, and they perform better. But you have also situations like this. So watch out for your crowd. Here, the crowd performs worse. Why? Because it was an Italian crowd and the logos were US brands. And so they could not tell the difference between this and that, and they thought that it was a nice picture of the chunky brand. And so they just injected garbage into the system, and the system obviously emitted garbage. So I would like to conclude with a warm welcome to all of you to give me problems. I mean, this is a technique. We IT guys are very special in inventing solutions to non-existing problems, right? I have the feeling, and we are also working, and I have not the time to, because I would spend 10 hours telling you, this is really a passion, how many problems in natural resource management, in food, for example, management, we are trying to tackle with these techniques. But at the end of the day, the experts are those that have in their hands the definition of the problems and know where the current status of the techniques may be helped by this kind of architecture. So I hope to have been able to give you a glimpse of an emerging computational paradigm that is low cost. It's difficult to implement properly, as you see, but it has a promise. And I think that together, and maybe starting from this conference, we can do something good in this respect. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Piero, for this inspiring presentation.
Yes, on time.
I really enjoyed it, and it gave a lot of thought for mind, so I hope you all were inspired. I have a few messages, and that is that for the dinner tonight,